It's really simple. And when you get down to it, and when Jacob sends you the instructions, it's simple. But I need to tell stories about Eagle Creek and Castledor Springs. I will do them separately because they are pretty good size.
Okay.
But I'll run them together. I'll run all of Castledor Springs together. What you gonna do?
Potty.
Anyway, we lived in Castledor Springs, which was a part way between San Carlos and Hilltop, I believe. And it was called Castledor Springs because we had this spring there. This water would come bubbling down, and it was a creek, and it was pretty good enough and deep. We could block it off and get it deeper, and it had a lot of watercress in it, and a lot of water snakes that swim around the watercress. And we played with them. We didn't think anything about it. They were fun. And that's where we learned to swim, really. I think it's in that little creek, at least for me. And Bert was with us, and we had some fun times in there. And Lee and I would take off. Well, let me tell you about the shack. It was a line shack, which the cowboys used just for a little bit of refuge from the storm when it's bad weather or something, and they're out rounding up cattle. It's not insulated. It's just basically a roof over their heads. And it has a stove in it and so on. Well, we moved into that, and Daddy kind of did some stuff to it, and he built a lean-to on the back side of it for him and Mama. And Lee and I were inside with bunk beds, and then Fern was the baby, and I think she was in their room with them, and Bert was in the room with us on a bunk bed. And so it just had the one big room with a stove and a sink, and I guess that was it, a stove and a sink. Yeah, and the stove came out and kind of separated the kitchen a little bit from the rest of the room. Well, okay, so we came home late one night from San Carlos, and Daddy went out and cut some wood, and Lee and I had to carry the wood in. So I'm carrying the wood in, and I get this, think I got a splinter in my finger. And I thought, well, I'll get that splinter out when I get to the house. I can hang on till then. And then all of a sudden, wham, a red hot fire poker went through my finger. Needless to say, I dropped the wood pile and ran screaming to the house. And Daddy stopped me at the door and would not let me in until I told him what was going on. I wanted in that house. I wanted away from that scorpion or whatever it was that got me. So after he got out of me what had happened, he took his flashlight and went down to the woodpile and dug around in it till he found the scorpion. Fortunately, it wasn't one of the smaller straw-colored ones. It was a bigger, darker one. The smaller ones, the straw-colored ones, can be deadly to children. I was only, I guess, about 10 years old, something like that. 9 or 10, anyway. So Mama called down to San Carlos Indian Hospital to find out what she should do. And they said, well, she could put it in ice water. And now we had an ice chest out in the yard in the dirt front of the house, which was a big it looked like a big freezer like you'd have today, a big box freezer, but it was not. It was a wooden ice chest. And it was made out of wood. And so Mama had it in coffee cans of water, each leg in a coffee can of water to keep the ants from being able to get in there, or spiders, as you chased that spider earlier. Anyway, so we had ice in that. He'd bring up a 100-pound ice or so at a time. So he went out and chipped up some ice and put it in a pan with water, and they had me put my hand in that water, and I could only stand it for just a little bit, and then I had to take my hand out. And then when it got bad again, I had to put my hand in. And it was like that all night. And Mama sat up with me all night long, like a mom would do with her kids, And my whole arm turned numb from one fingertip to the whole shoulder, and I don't know what else. I think that was just the arm got numb. For 3 days, it was numb. I just didn't do anything, you know. It was one of those floppy arms. But that's okay. It finally went away. But it was an experience, and quite an experience, you know. And so I've always remembered that. And there was another time I was going out of the house, and we had what we called the canopy. We had a coffee can that girls could use at night if they had to. And I don't know why it was full this one morning, but I was very carefully carrying it, trying not to spill it on me, and walking very gingerly, and I looked down and I was about ready to step on this huge snake. Huge snake. Snake. I threw the can one way, I went the other. I don't know where the snake went. Ran back in the house. Daddy wasn't there. Mama came out with her shovel, found the snake, and killed it. It was a big bull snake. That's what they called him anyway. It wasn't poisonous. But he had been stealing the eggs out of our chicken coop. And that's where he was coming from, the chicken coop across the road, across the path or whatever it was. So Mama killed him. She'd been trying to find him for a long while. And Lee and I used to go for walks down that creek. We'd be gone all day long. And one time we found a coral snake down there, which we killed, which we shouldn't have killed. It was, well, you know, kids, it was a beautiful snake. Coral snake, you can tell the difference between them and king snakes. Coral snakes, their bands of color go all the way around their body. King snakes, it only goes partially around their body, but they look like a coral snake. They're very clever at their deception. So anyway, we killed this. He was a beautiful snake. And then one time we found a den of little rattlesnakes, 4 baby rattlesnakes. So we brought them home. I don't know how we got them home, whether we carried them in our pockets, but we did. I don't remember. But those little buggers can be deadly too. I mean, they don't have a lot of venom, but what they have is nice, fresh, new venom. I just don't remember how we got them home. Somehow we were ingenious in getting them home, maybe in a shirt or something, I don't know. We got them home, we put them in a jar, and we poked holes in the top of the lid of the jar, which happened to be the size of the snakes. Duh. Then we put the jar in the fork of the sycamore tree that was out in front, that Mother always swept under that tree and in front of that yard. That was her yard. It was hard-packed caliche clay or something. She would sweep that every morning, just like you were sweeping your front porch off. And so that jar fell down out of the tree in the wind. And Mother was out there one day sweeping, and there's this little snake. They were about that long, little snake striking at the broom. She killed it. So then she knew there were 3 more. She did not rest until she got all 3 snakes, and one happened to be in the house. But she got that one too. Speaking of snakes in the house, one time we had this snake crawling up behind the flower bin that Mama kept in the corner with the flour in it. It was a great big flower bin, a metal one with a lid on it to keep the flour clean. And this snake was crawling up between the flower bin and the corner of the wall. Daddy just got his gun and shot it because it looked like a rattlesnake. Well, it wasn't. It was something, again, that looked like a rattlesnake. Animals, you know, in the kingdom the Lord has created, there are many, many interesting things. They look like something that's deadly, but they're not, and that helps to save them sometimes. Did I tell you that the ice chest was in water to keep the ants out? I did, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Okay, what else did I need to tell you? I think I've rambled on long enough on this one, don't you? You probably will get tired of hearing about snakes and stuff. Wait till you hear about the one from Castlegar Springs. No. From Cement Hill. centipedes, scorpions. That's really lovely. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it.